Hi! Today we're going to practice putting a bow hold onto the actual bow. Hopefully you've seen our previous video about putting a bow hold on a pencil. And in that video we mentioned marking dots on your hand. So the first dot, remember, is at the inside corner of your thumb. The second dot that we put was on our tallest finger at the first crease. We made a circle with it like that. The third dot we put was on the side of our first finger between the two creases, the first two creases. And the next dot was on the first crease of the ring finger, and the last one was on the very tip of your smallest finger. So after you've marked those on your hand, then we are ready to practice getting out the bow from the case. When you get the bow out, be very, very gentle. Use two hands and don't yank on it because it is made of fragile materials, and just hold it really gently. You'll notice that there is hair on the bow, and you want to avoid touching that. You don't want to grab around the stick and touch that hair a lot. But today we will be touching it maybe just the side for a brief moment. It's okay if you do that. It won't hurt it too badly, but don't put it in your whole fist or anything like that. So this is the bow. You have it in two hands and you're mainly holding the stick. And what we're going to do first is find the balance point of the bow. The bow is going to balance right about here. And I'd like you to try finding that, balancing it with just two fingers on one hand. Now you'll notice if you're right in the middle of the bow, it's actually not going to balance. It's going to fall over. If you're too close to this area, which we call, it kind of has a funny name, it's called the frog, then it's going to fall the other way. So try to just inch it into a place where it's actually standing on your two fingers and it's balanced. At that place, I want you to mark your bow with a little piece of tape. I used these dots again, and I just cut a strip and put it on the stick only. You can use another piece of tape if you'd like. And we're going to mark the balance point. Now, at this point, you have to tighten the bow. So in order to tighten the bow, what that means is it's going to pull the hairs a little bit tighter. And so you point the tip of the bow, the pointy one, the pointy part, away from you. This is a screw that you're going to turn clockwise. And just go ahead and turn it. Righty-tighty, you're tightening the bow. And look and notice what happens to the hair and to the stick. As I tighten, they become parallel. And you don't want to go any further than parallel because then it could break the stick. So just turn that screw until they're about parallel and then stop. And that's called a tightened bow. We always do that before we play. Now we're ready to form the bow hold. So you're going to hold it with the frog on your right side and the tip on your left side. Just with your left hand, just grab the tip a little bit, and this is just to stabilize the bow. Try not to touch the hairs at this point, just the stick. And then with your right hand, which is the bow hold, we're going to make our circle, touching the tip of the thumb to that second finger, like we did with the pencil hold. And then we're just going to use the stick of the bow right at the marker on your balance point to make the circle, just like we did with the pencil. So then you've broken the circle that was touching here. You're just going to stick the stick inside of that circle. Then we're going to use our mark for our first finger, lay that down on the stick. We're going to use our mark for our third finger. I'm using numbers, so I'm calling this first, second, third, and fourth. And so we'll put the first finger down on the side, put the third finger on that dot, and put your pinky, or your fourth finger, on the dot that you have at the tip of the pinky. And so that looks a lot like the pencil hold that you practiced, and that's a good bow hold right on the bow. Alright, so we'll walk through that one more time. Remember to keep stabilizing it at the tip with your left hand. To take off your bow hold. Try that again. So make your circle with your tallest finger. Put it make sure that it's round. Yeah, I'm going to make sure that it has that circle in the middle of your thumb and your tallest finger. put it on your first finger, put on your ring finger, put on your pinky. And then you notice that I tapped them. So you can tap your first finger, maybe tap your middle two fingers, tap your pinky, and then check that it's round in the circle. You can kind of look around the room. You could even test to see, maybe stick up your other hand finger right through there, make sure it's still round, and it doesn't collapse and with a straight thumb, but it has a bent thumb. All right, and you'll notice now I did let go of the tip, and I'm going to put my horizontal bow instead. I'm going to put it vertical. So then you can make some circles, like stir the pot. You can go up and down. You can do big sun-shaped circles. And there's all kinds of motions you can do with a nice round and bent thumb bow hold. And this is called the early bow hold. And if you can do this, you're on your way to a really nice bow hold. Later on, we'll be holding it like the professionals do down at the frog. The reason we do it at the balance point is that it feels nice and light, almost as if it were the same weight as a pencil. So we learn how to hold it here first, and then you'll notice later we'll move it down. Like I said, the tips of the fingers might touch the hair just a little bit. It's all right as long as you're not full on grabbing it or touching it really, really heavily or making a habit of that. But if it just grazes it a little, that's okay. All right, now after you have a chance to practice this about 10 times in a practice session, then it's time to loosen your bow. You have to loosen it in order to give it a chance to rest when you put it away. So we'll take it and point the tip away from us again, except we go left instead of right. So counterclockwise, you turn the screw, and you know that it's loose enough when you see one or two hairs just ever so slightly separating from the rest of the hairs. So I can see one there, so I think I'm done. The other thing I notice is that the stick and the hair are touching. So if you don't see one or two hairs separating but they're touching, you're done as well with loosening the bow. And then we gently, with two hands, we put it back in the case, and that's the last step in getting the bow out and then putting it back away. So you need to practice a bow hold probably 10 times a day would be a great number until you're really comfortable with that, and then you'll be able to move on to the next step. Have fun!